similar to what those in the declared BD will be, and that's how we will forecast them for the newcomer like the EFF or other new parties in this sense. So we do have a kind of a stratification in terms of urban and rural areas, but we didn't specifically say these voting districts is typical Tshwane, or this is typical Cape Town, or this is typical eThekwini. No, we didn't. But we've got a generic kind of an urban-rural setup, and then variations on the theme of that as well.
I would like to add just a sense of excitement that often goes together with the CSIR predictions. I've been working here, go to see other SABC with CSIR people over a number of elections. So I know tomorrow morning when we start reconvening here, it's going to be great excitement, because then they will probably have a sufficient number of voting districts with a sufficient geographical distribution coming in order to make those predictions. And I know from past experiences that by that time we can seriously, even if the IEC really is nowhere near declaring all other districts, we can, with a pretty great level of certainty and accuracy, start saying that would probably be tomorrow morning, 7, 8 o'clock. That is how the results in particular metros, even particular municipalities, are likely to go. And it could even be some of the predictions they will do will also be for the smaller municipalities. And we could probably get vote proportions across a very wide spectrum, and that is one of the big advantages there. While the IEC is counting and while the disputes are being settled, we might have a very good idea. Am I accurate there, Peter?
Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to give a prediction on a national provincial, just a normal PR vote. Then we're also going to give a prediction on the metros, as a separate prediction, which includes then the ward and the seat allocations, as well as then for the municipality. So we will break it down into smaller entities, and we will give it to the political analysts like the professor and so on to mull about it and think why did the people vote like they did and so on. And we just say, we
that's always actually
the numbers.
That's actually always interesting to see why people vote and how they vote. I mean, even now being here at the IEC, like Prof was saying, it's very exciting because you're experiencing the results as they come in. Yes. We heard one political party they're celebrating. I think they've just won an award. We're not sure exactly, but we will find out. Maybe also get a chance to go into the floor and find out what the cheering is about. So that's what it is. We're actually going to my colleague Eben now, who's on the floor. Eben, what's happening there? We heard some cheering.
Yeah, we've had some cheering down here, Tabile. If you can have a look at us, well, big number. It's early days. I mean, some people say that things will change now. Of course, a lot of change can still be expected. Only 5% of votes have been declared, have been made. But the big cheer that we got at the bottom here was when 4 more wards were declared in favour of the DA. Now they're sitting overall on 33% at the moment, with the ANC sitting on 54.19%. Now I can tell you that it was a quick jump, but it's early days. But let me speak to Mr. Andrew Sloma of Agang SA, the president. Very good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening. How are you?
You've got a long, hard night ahead of you. How are you reading what's happening right now?
Well, it is still very early, and then some of these provinces we haven't yet, we are not contesting them. We are still waiting for Gauteng, Limpopo, and Mpumalanga, Free State, and Northwest, where we have contested. So still very, very early, and we are hoping changes will come soon.
I want to talk to the Freedom Front Plus. I see they're in purple on the board there in the Northwest Province. I see a little bit of a jump in support. How do you respond to that early?
Yeah, that's very good. We're still 5 hours into the count, and it looks good so far. We are on the map in Northern Cape and in Northwest, so we are confident that we will do very good in this election when the final results is being out.
What would you say would be a good result for you?
Oh, well, a good result for us to be part of a coalition government. So if we have enough votes, we can be part of a coalition government in Tshwane and northwest probably. So let's see what happens at the end of the day.
Are you already talking to the DA about those coalitions?
Well, we will see how the talks will go after the results has been done, and then we can see where we're going through there.
Thank you. Early results in. I saw your members jump for joy there when 8 wards went up.
Yes.
That was a nice jump forward.
Yes, it was. We are satisfied. These are early days still. The major metros have still got to come in. That's where our traditional support levels lie. That's the real battleground. But it is always gratifying when you see so much yellow on the map, and we hope it's going to stay that way.
Overall support right now with 5%, in some would call it a little microcosm, 33% overall support. Are you happy with that start?
Well, we would be very happy with that start, and if that continued, we would be ecstatic. But realistically, it's not going to sustain that. We are looking at support levels of probably between 25 and 27%, but we would hope to keep the ANC beneath 60%, and we would hope to dent the majorities in the big metros, and hopefully to hold them under 50%.
Well, thank you very much. I just want to run across to the EFF and the AIC. I just want to hear what they have to say. Early doors. I've got the African Independent Congress with us now. Very good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us. 0.48 of a percentage point on the board right now. Are you happy with where you are?
Yes, definitely we are happy because we can see that we are making a big progress. Come tomorrow, we'll be more than that. Yes, we're very, very, very happy actually.
What would you see as success, and where do you see your strongholds? Where do you see the base of your support?
Okay, our base of support is City of Joburg, of course, because that is where we just put our energy in, together with the Northern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, places like Umkanyagute, that is the district, and Umtubatuba local municipalities, together with 11 municipalities, and Matatiele, of course. As soon as the results are coming from those areas, I think we're going to just pick up the pace.
Thank you. There's still a long night ahead of you. All the best. I just want to talk to the EFF. It's been a quiet start for the EFF. Are you surprised that after 5%, the board is still quiet?
Well, you will agree with me that 5% is too early to call, and we are not surprised about anything. We are looking forward to the real numbers flowing in no time.
Where do you see yourself performing above even your own expectations? Is it places like Rustenburg on the back of the support you have around Marikana and so?
No. We are going to perform very well throughout South Africa, throughout the 4,392 wards, throughout the 208 municipalities, and throughout the 8 metros.
How are you going to stay awake for the next 6 hours?
Well, there's quite a lot of coffee here, so we'll be taking coffee, and we should be fine to pull it up until the real numbers start coming in.
Thank you very much for talking to us. It's a tough night ahead for all of us, all the party representatives. Well, they've been here since early this morning, as we have been. I can tell you there are a lot of tired faces here, but they're hopeful. There's an air of expectation. Tabile, it's over to you. But as I say, there are a lot of tired faces as we head into the morning now of counting day.
Thank you, Eben. Well, I don't think I look tired yet. I'm hoping I'll still look fine in the next few hours. Let's now take a look at some of the events from earlier today. The Electoral Commission has released the first voter results for this year's local government elections, saying the country has once again pulled off a successful poll. The IEC released the results of a small voting district in Ward 6 of the Great Kai region in the Eastern Cape. It was won by the DA with 45.4%, followed by the ANC with 31.82%. Now, the ANC had won almost 62% of small voting districts in the 2011 poll. Earlier, Electoral Commission Chair Vuma Mashinini released the first results. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
Let me allow the chairperson of the Electoral Commission to proceed to the podium to come and announce the first 2016 municipal results that have been audited and finalized. Chairperson, if you may please proceed to the podium.
Thank you, Program Director, and good evening, South Africa. We've reached the moment that we all had been looking forward to. And it's a moment of pride as a nation that once more again we have conducted our elections, and I have the singular honor on behalf of the Commission to announce the first results that are from VD 10880108 Ward 6 EC 123, which is the Eastern Cape, the Great Kai. And ladies and gentlemen, just before us, we will see the results coming through. And here it is. Does it? Yeah. Okay. And thank you, Program Director.
Ladies and gentlemen, there we have it, the first set of results for these elections. Without much ado, we're still expecting many, many more results to be coming throughout the night, early hours of the morning. Let me allow the Deputy Chief Electoral Officer, Ntate Saimamabolo, just to give us a little bit of an update before we continue watching the process as it unfolds. DCO, please proceed.
Good evening, everybody. The Commission has just concluded consultations with provincial electoral officers. Indications are that a substantial majority of voting stations have now closed, although there are some still operating in the region of about 10% across the country. No voting hours have been extended. However, as per regular protocol, those voters who are within the boundaries of voting station at 7 will be serviced until they are all concluded. There won't be any further briefings for this evening. We will commence with the first briefing tomorrow at 11 o'clock. For the rest, let's watch and see as there are changes on the screen. Good night.
Right.
Those are some earlier visuals when the first set of results were coming in. I'm still sitting here with our in-studio guest. Dr. Smith is joining us from the CSIR, as well as Professor Boyson, who's here for some political analysis. Now, Professor, we were just having a chat off air now where you were saying it's so difficult to give any real analysis on these numbers, considering about only 5% of the national vote has been counted.
Yes, and it will be very selective where they're counted. It's often very small areas, very easy to count, and on such low counts, the percentages on just a release of 1 or 2 extra results can really change the percentages on the board. So it's interesting because these are early days, new election, first of the results coming out, and especially about an hour ago there was such huge excitement, almost a spectacle on the floor when 1 or 2 or 3 of these results become known, which are going to be absolutely meaningless in a few hours. By the time the sun rises tomorrow morning, it won't matter, those first results. But it's just the sense of the aura of an elections and excitement of those results coming through that made for the earlier spectacle on the floor, some of the big shots, big leaders gathering and people watching those boards and then realizing this is going to be a long night. And now that sense of great excitement is fading. I think tomorrow morning, first light of day, it will be rekindled and the boards will look quite different when we come back here in the morning.
And that's something I want us to touch on. I mean, we have been saying that it's still early days and it's difficult to really, start speaking of any possible outcome. Just in terms of the elections that you've seen before, Doctor, would you say the speed of counting is as expected?
I can't make that call. Sorry. No.
You can't. Do you? Well, based on your analysis, and in terms of how quickly they've come out before, where you would say, all right, we are now at our 10%. They were able to count it by 4 a.m., for example, like your colleague Dr. Tlingwa said earlier on. He had given 4 a.m., for example, as a time where we can expect you to be able to do your predictions. Would you say it's in line with that, or it could take longer than expected? expected?
No, it's over the elections. It was around early morning hours that we could do it from 4 o'clock onwards and so on. When normally, when morning live comes up, then we have at least some fairly confident calls of what's going on, and that was around 6 o'clock. So I would say between 6 and 8 o'clock when we have morning live, we most probably will have some good results.
It's
to
so
say.
difficult being a numbers person. I'm looking at Dr. Smith here, and he's actually frustrated, and he's like, why are you asking me about numbers? There's only 5% of votes counted. And I actually understand the frustration with that, because it's really difficult. I mean, you even said that it's at this point in time, by the time it's 7 a.m., we're going to look back at that board and say, those early results were actually meaningless.
Yes, yes. And he does go more slowly than the national and provincial election results. It's a more intricate electoral system, different ways of counting, different ways of calculating. So it does take a bit more time than the national elections. So we can expect it will be a bit later before we get the final result. But I would say it is roughly on track. I just know this uncertainty and us speculating on a basis of almost nothing this time of the night because we are so keen to get to the result. That feels quite familiar.
And that's actually so true. We're all waiting with bated breath for those results. My analysts are here, and it's really difficult to tell what an actual outcome will be until more and more results come in. We're still waiting to get to that 10% mark, which we'll hopefully get to in the next few hours. For now, though, my colleague Eben is on the floor, and he's got a guest there. Eben?
Yeah, the mood is kind of buoyant. It's quieting down a little bit, actually, but the mood is quite buoyant. It's going to be a long night for all the representatives here, but I have to commend them for smiling and sitting through. It's quite a tedious process as everyone's got their eye on the board. One of the interesting stories, though, that have developed, not just today or yesterday, but the last couple of weeks, have been the story of the NFP. That's the National Freedom Party. They, of course, they were disqualified from this municipal election for a variety of reasons that we all know. An interesting dynamic that's developed is with the Al Jamaa Party. Now, I've got Mr. Hanif Hendricks here from the Al Jamaa Party. Very good evening to you. Good morning. It's morning.
Good morning. Assalamu alaikum.
I wanted to ask you, Mr. Hendricks, tell us your relationship with the NFP and the developments that we've seen down in KwaZulu-Natal.
Yeah,
just explain that to us a little bit.
As you know, there are 2 municipalities in Escourt, and after this election, there will be 1. So the National Freedom Party, they've been working very hard to govern the joint municipality. At the moment, they are running it jointly with the ANC, and they in fact have 2 deputy mayors in the 2 municipalities. And they worked out a plan to win 14 out of the 23 seats so that they can run the municipality without having to go into a coalition with the ANC.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you know what happened. Their name is not on a ballot form. So the chieftaincy in Mooi River approached Al Jamaa, and it took us about a week before we responded because we're busy campaigning.
Yeah.
And then I was persuaded by the party to spend some time with them, and I spent 4 days with the chieftaincy in Mooi River, because they obviously have quite an influence in Escourt. The problem that they had was that they wanted a party to throw them a lifeline without sinking them.
Yeah.
Because all the other parties, asked them, right, join us. Ask your supporters to join us, and then eventually it will dilute the National Freedom Party. So we only have 1 candidate for that municipality, because that's the level of our support at this stage.
Yeah.
But we actually put the candidate in all the wards.
Yeah.
So that means we're contesting all the wards. So the game plan we came up with is, if the NFP tells their supporters to vote for Al Jamaa, and instead of the 1 seat, we win the 14 seats, they can have the 13.
That's a very interesting deal that's been struck. Of course, we saw earlier in the week that they've also struck some sort of deal with the leadership, saying they're going to ask their constituency to join the ANC or vote for the ANC. Interesting, they got two municipalities there, Udumbe and Nongoma. It'll be very interesting to see how things develop in those constituencies over the next couple of days. But I've got Mr. Bloom with me here from COPE. If I can get on the other side, I want you to have a look at the board there, sir. It's just 0.044%. How do you read this early, the board as it stands now, as early as only 6% counted now?
This is very early days. We can't talk about the board as it stands now. I think tomorrow, by afternoon, then we can say something, but not now. This is not a true reflection what is going on.
What would you be happy with once the votes are counted?
You see, we are having 263 councillors around the country in the 2011 elections. We are saying that if we can double that representation, we will be most happy, because we are coming from a very serious bruising fight, and we are building now the organization. So we will be happy if we can double our seats.
Mr. Bloom, thank you for talking to us. I know it's a long night ahead. I hope you don't drink too much coffee, that you're still together tomorrow. I'm here with the PSC. Just give us your view as you see what's happening now and what you would like to happen.
Look, it's still early. The board keeps on changing every minute. At one stage when it was coming up, we had 0.32. We went to 0.14, but it's still early. It's only about 6% of the vote counted. Look, for the PAC, an improvement in the last performance will be a good result for us. We had about 42 councillors, and that number increased to 43 with the by-election which we won in Venda. Any improvement on that one, it will be good for us.
Well, sir, I thank you for talking to us. It's very early, as you say. Let's give the board a little bit of time to flex its muscles, and then we'll come back and have another chat. Thank you. That's a PAC. Of course, there have been lots of chairs, as you've seen, going on here. Let me just take a walk down here to the ANC table. I just want to ask Sir Jackson Mthembu, what does he make of what's happening early doors here? It's early. All the party representatives are one. They're saying that you shouldn't read too much into what is going on right now. I want to ask Mr. Mthembu, everyone says the same thing. You shouldn't really read too much into what is happening now. How do you read what's going on?
Of course, it's still early days, we agree. It's only 6% of votes that have been counted. You still are left with 94%. So for anybody to make any outcomes out of this is still too early days from where we're sitting.
If you had the benefit of hindsight, what would you like to see in 24 hours' time?
Well, it's not a benefit of hindsight, it's the benefit of what we started to achieve. Our starting point was to ensure that we win all the municipalities, whether metros, whether district municipalities, whether any municipality. We started as ANC with an intention of winning all those. We have not changed. So we still have an intention of winning all those municipalities because we have worked towards winning all those municipalities. So it's not even a benefit of hindsight. It's what we started to do. And we're confident that we will win all the municipalities and we will even do better in the Cape Town Metro.
Thank you very much for talking to us. I want to ask the SG quickly. Mr. SG, can I ask you a question? You're still very sharp at this early hour. How do you manage to still keep so sharp?
Jackson suggested that I must be taken to the doping committee to check what is keeping me going all the time. He made a serious allegation that I must be taken to the doping committee.
It's an Olympic week, so,
That's
so
it.
maybe it's time for you to be
I
tested.
told him that, no, listen, man, this idea is not the best idea, Jackson. It's not hindsight if it is in 24 hours.
It's foresight.
It's foresight.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you, sir. But you can understand it's been a very long day.
There you are.
How do you keep the spirits up when the hours are so long and we work deep into the night?
I have spare energy that I use just time of the day.
I'm going to have to ask you to put something in a bottle so we can have it tested, sir, because you're talking about doping allegations and.
It's Jackson who want to subject me to a doping test.
the SG is in fine humor at this time of the morning. Very good morning if you've just joined us. Let's go back to our studio where Tabile is standing by with our analysts.
If you look at artists, they've got one of the abilities to either form new conversations, they can paint a picture of a country, they can paint a picture of a mindset of a country.
The Cape Town-based ballet dancer recently won at the 2016 and 2017 Rolex Mentor and Prodigy Arts Initiative.
South African hip-hop right now is sitting at a level where it's Ngutu, Yippee and Roll Up. When you put them all in one room, you actually have like the ultimate super South African fan.
And you're watching Trends, do not go anywhere, stay right there.
Catch Trends for that 1 hour weekly dose of art and entertainment news every Saturday from 12 to 1.
He appealed for the disruptions to come to an end so the future of the children is not compromised.
The union said the latest offer by Eskom will condemn its members to poverty.
Samples from the 2012 London Olympic Games and 2014 Sochi Winter Games will also be retested.
Stay tuned to News Today at 3 p.m. from Monday to Friday on SABC News.
Hypertension is the condition where the blood pressure, the pressure in the blood vessels, it goes up.
We often come out at the top of the ladder having the worst numbers. And I think that's because we almost have what I can call a perfect storm of high blood pressure risk factors.
If you are diagnosed with hypertension, you just have to continue taking the medication for the rest of the life.
Because we try and reintegrate them and we try and retrain their abilities to be part of social society.
We do a lot of work trying to educate people, trying to encourage and motivate people to lead a healthy lifestyle. So what a healthy lifestyle means from a blood pressure point of view is obviously the more active you are, and the better your heart is, the more fit your heart is, and the better condition your blood vessels are.
Catch Health Talk every Saturday from 9 to 10 with Dr. Sillo Mutawo.
Usisiwe Jamsana, SABC News, Alice.
Mzondi Lembech, SABC News, Doha, Qatar.
Kunatipingwase, SABC News, Alice.
Diabo Seto, SABC News, Geneva, Switzerland.
Nampimelo Siziba, SABC News, Moscow, Russia.
Sherwin Bryce-Pease, SABC News, New York.
Craig Murray, SABC News, Stellenbosch.
We bring the news back home. We keep the nation fully informed.
Welcome back. We're still coming to you live from the IEC's Results Operations Centre in Tshwane. Now, the SABC has assigned personnel from Radio, TV, Digital Media and Technical Division to cover the 2016 municipal elections across the country. Here at the IEC Results Operations Centre, it took some doing from both the technical and logistics team to make sure that you at home get the front row seat. Earlier, we spoke to Alan Visser, the SABC Election Project Manager, about how they managed to put together the infrastructure.
Take us through how this production came to reality.
The production is a 6-month production, pre-planning production, in which the entire technology division, now known as the Media Technology Infrastructure Division, comes together as a team. We bi-weekly have been meeting to ensure that all of the infrastructure that we are here with at the IEC is on the ground for the elections at this moment.
And you say it took you about 6 months to put this together in terms of the whole planning, both radio and TV?
Both radio and TV, bearing in mind that we have 12, the capability of broadcasting 12 full radio stations here over the period, and we've also put in a backbone for full IT, and that also includes the digital news area that comes with it. Not forgetting that when you get to the elections itself, you have to also lay every single cable and every bit of connectivity that links this particular area with the rest of the country. The country also links to the entire operations of the IEC here in Pretoria. When I say that, we have actually moved our main control out of the Johannesburg, Auckland Park area, and situated it right here at the Results Operations Centre. We call the Results Operations Centre the ROC, and it's our acronym within the technology environment every time we refer to it as well.
In terms of the manpower that's involved here, how many people are we speaking about?
On the ground at the moment, the SABC has about 400 people per session, and that session rotates as we go through the different shifts, that it be night and morning shift. From a technical crew, we are about 120 people full-time on the ground.
Okay, and of course there must be a lot of challenges. What are some of the hurdles that you had to overcome, and also make sure that you put preventative measures in place to make sure that everything runs smoothly?
The biggest challenge this period has been the High-Tech Operations Centre, in which, particularly because we've gone over to new technology since the last election. In the last election we used a technology called ATM. We have now moved over to Metro Ethernet, which is the new backbone that Telkom has installed, and we are now moving obviously with that in mind to be able to broadcast using those technologies. That the new technology enables us to have a much broader pipe coming into the ROC, and therefore give a much better signal going out and much more capability. Now, when I talk about the High-Tech Operations Centre, that is the heart of the operations here in terms of linking to every facility in the country. That links to the OB vehicle, and the OB vehicle then sends signal back and forth to the High-Tech Operations Centre. We've put millions of rands of equipment in there to enable us to do that, to decode it, encode it, and of course push it through the Metro Ethernet and through satellite technology.
Speaking of technology, that of course is a part of the digital technology that you had to put in place, but behind you we see a state-of-the-art studio as well that we're broadcasting from. Tell us more about that studio and other technologies that we're also using.
The SABC, in order to broadcast from the ROC, puts a state-of-the-art set in place, and with that set comes new capabilities. The set, as you can see in the background, is a largely interactive set for the first time. And what we've done with this is largely link it to digital news, which allows the presenter on screen to be talking to the audience at home in the same environment that they will be able to view on their own computer at home. And we've also now placed one of those interactive screens in every province in the country. So when we cross into different provinces, they can hone in on their own areas and get results out on their for instance, in Limpopo, any of the many wards that are there, they can hone straight in and actually have an on-the-ground view of what is going on in that particular area. In order for us to have done that, though, there's a large backbone of technology that we've put in place, and that looks at the Results Operations Centre's collaboration, I shouldn't say it's the SABC collaboration with the IEC on the amount of data that is coming in. What the SABC does is it takes three sets of data. One, it is the previous data from the previous election, the new data streaming in, and then what we do is we link it to the CSIR, who have an algorithm that runs through that information, which gives us predictive ability in looking at the results as they're coming in, and which gives great programming ability to the presenters on air through the interactive screens that they have.
Of course, the SABC has 22 years of election experience. How is this year's production different from all the other years that we have actually broadcast the election results?
I think that from my view, as I've just stated, the interaction of social media, the interaction of Twitters, of Facebooks, have become close, have closed the whole circle of the broadcast value chain, and that is becoming a more important part of the broadcast every time we go on air, because it allows the viewer to interact with what is actually going on set as well.
Would you say it was easier this time around with all the experience that we have to put this together, or does it get more challenging as, of course, the market itself is getting more competitive?
The market is definitely getting more competitive, but I am of the belief that the SABC still holds the competitive advantage in this sphere, because we have that intellectual knowledge that has come over many years. Your question on whether it has become easier, I think that because we have a host of really good skilled people on the ground, and every one of them deserves major credit, that we gel very well, and it enables us to put this technology on the ground as each person knows what their key responsibilities are.
And lastly, let's talk about money. If we had to maybe put a figure on the table, how much more or less would a production of this magnitude cost us?
I don't have all the figures in front of me, but I'm sure that 50 million rand would probably be a fair guesstimate on the total cost that is involved in ensuring that 400 people are on the ground giving the type of information through to the public. And bearing in mind the 400 people sphere across the whole of Southern Africa, and that is the immense capability that the SABC has as the public broadcaster, is to put those people that are in the provinces into the central picture of what is going on nationally.
And that's an interview from earlier on with the SABC Election Project Manager, Alan Visser, and he was giving us details of the magnitude, or rather the cost of such a production, and we're here able to give you the results as they come in from the IEC's Results Operations Centre in Tshwane. Now, Eben is back with me on set. Eben, yes. It was interesting to see you on the floor, speaking to some of the political parties, seeing their reactions, some looking happy, some still hopeful.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting night there, mixing with especially the smaller parties. I had a little bit of fun there with Secretary General Gwede Mantashe, who was talking about him being tested for doping because he's in such a good mood at this hour. But I wanted to ask our analyst specifically about the smaller parties, and I just did an interview with Dennis Bloem from COPE, and he spoke about their 263 councillors that they won in 2011, and that they will only be happy if they double that amount. Now, after the bloodbath that they suffered in the general election of 2014, how do you view that?
Wow, I would almost say dream on, because, well, very respectfully, of course, because they had really, as you said, suffered serious declines. They started at that high and of 7% national support, and they didn't, and they became the official opposition at provincial level in a range of provinces. But since then, it has been dramatically down to the point that COPE is now a below 2% party at national level, really another micro party that is struggling with resources, struggling with the old leadership legacies, and it is really haunted to the extent that people sometimes ask the question, I do not think it is the case, but whether there's a COPE curse, and whether the EFF as a relatively young political party might also suffer that decline curse. I do not think we see that evidence, and the poor results for EFF that we see on the board at this stage, I think is purely a function of the areas where the votes have been counted and where not.
Is it a simple scenario, leadership or lack thereof, and the case where we had so much infighting within COPE, and that was the problem that they suffered on the back of when we're talking about juxtaposing it with the EFF?
I think it can definitely, the leadership thing was a huge contributing factor, because when COPE should have been on the ground, should have been fighting dynamic battles in Parliament, they were fighting leadership battles in courts. And that actually set quite a few precedents in South African party politics. I think the courts got involved in solving internal leadership battles. Rightly so, I guess that was the right step. But so and I think after that we've seen a growing stream of smaller parties, even ANC members, in leadership battles, in leadership elections, like we saw it around the Mangaung battles. But the courts have become a refuge to sort internal problems. In this election we have seen one aspirant councillor who didn't make it in Soshanguve took the ANC to court on those issues. There are several of that matters, but it was such an intractable battle in the COPE, and that really imploded COPE.
Now, just to shift focus back to the numbers now, we're close to the end of the segment and of this bulletin right now. We're at around 7% of the national vote right now, closer and closer to that 10%. Doctor, your take right now, just before we wrap up?
I can't forecast because I don't have the results with me, but we're getting close towards the 10%, so it looks like 4 o'clock is feasible, or 5 o'clock. So we will do then the call, and then we give enough ammunition for the political analysts like the good professor next to us, and they can then dissect what we've got for them and so on and see. But I would also like to talk about the small little Karoo Gemeenskapsparty.
You wrote about that?
Yeah, I wrote a book chapter for the good professor here on these small little parties which are called trend breakers. And the Karoo Gemeenskapsparty, I saw that they won a ward seat, so congratulations to them. I had an interesting interview with the mayor of Prince Albert. He's the chairperson of the Karoo Gemeenskapsparty, and they started as a NGO for the coloured community there to help them to get out of their poverty and all that kind of stuff. In the meantime, the big political parties, the DA and the ANC, were bickering about what to do in the party, and they were blocking each other and so on, and there was no way forward. So when the 2011 the municipal elections came along, the people asked this Gemeenskapsparty to register as a political party and then stand for Prince Albert.
Doctor, sorry to interrupt you there. There's a graphic that our director has just put up, and we want to take a look at that. Now, 6% of the voting districts have been completed, and as we can see there, ANC sitting on 53.73%, the DA on 32.8%, the EFF just a little over 5%. Eben?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm quite interested to understand this, the 10% principle, or that sort of yardstick. If that's the case, we're getting quite close to it, and it looks a little bit like a microcosm of where we could be heading.
I think it's still a bit skewed, quite honestly. And because also, besides the fact that I think the ANC would do better, the DA a bit worse, the EFF a bit better, the results we know historically that come in first are the easily organized, easily counted ones, very often with a white suburban bias in them, and that could be reflected in the results now, the easier first take on results.
Now, we're coming closer and closer to the end of the show, but I want to go back to what the doctor was speaking about, because you're right, sometimes we forget about the smaller places like the Karoo, but just take us quickly, briefly into that story and what it means for them having won award right now.
Yeah, I think it's for them great, because they already did win. They didn't have the outright majority, so they had to go into coalition with the ANC because the DA got a bit greedy. So they decided not to go with them, but rather with the ANC. But I think it might also be a kind of a, well, I personally think the way that the future will go into our local elections, that it might go into coalition type setups. And a coalition is a new kind of thing for South Africa. We don't know it. Not like the Europeans that are quite used to coalitions and so on. So it could be quite interesting to go forward in this local election.
The town of Prince Albert is in the middle of nowhere. It's between Laingsburg and Beaufort West.
That's right.
And I've driven through there a few times, and the issues are probably always the same that people face: water, sanitation, issues of health. Fetal alcohol syndrome is probably one of the things that the community suffers from. Well, what drives the people of these small little towns in the Karoo?
Prince Albert is what one can call an Aspen village. And the Aspen village is like what you get in the USA, these skiing villages, so the rich people go there for holidays and so on. And Prince Albert is a similar type. There's rich Cape Townians and so on, or some people from Gauteng going there for weekends and so on, have properties there. So there's a quite big disparity between rich and poor. And the problem is with the local populace is they actually battle, and I think that is one of the reasons why the Karoo Gemeenskapspartij was actually kind of an NGO to uplift these people and so on, and to help them to live in an area like that where you have this kind of a contrast and so on. And a lot of Karoo towns are getting these kinds of Aspen village type setups, like Loxton is also moving towards that and so forth. And Clarence in the Free State is also a big example of this, where the rich go and have a holiday and so forth, and then they upset the whole balance there and so forth. And I think that's also maybe a thing that the people must look into the future, how we can uplift these people that stay there and be part of this prosperity that's actually happening there.
Now, Prof, just to stay on the point of coalitions, I mean, they are relatively new to South Africa, and last night we spoke about a few where we saw some actually working and some not working. Take us through some of the reasons why coalitions actually fail.
Well, coalitions fail very often because there's not much enough that tie together these different political parties. They might have divergent policies, they might have leadership battles, the stakes might be very small, and there just isn't enough resources to spread around. They often come in with great aspirations, especially the smaller political parties. There's great aspirations in South Africa, I know, of using access to local government, state power, in order to have a higher profile, hopefully access to better resources, serve their own little communities better, and very often they get swamped by the bigger parties, and all those little dreams go up in smoke.
Prof, let's quickly take a look at what's happening in Gauteng, those results coming in slowly but surely. As you can see over there, there it is, we've got it now. The ANC sitting on 43.39%, the DA on 42, which is a very close one there between the ANC and the DA. And of course the EFF just over 7%, they are on 7.67%.
From what I see, it looks like the DA and the EFF, if that is how it plays out, the DA and the EFF will they be able to govern together?
I think it could be very difficult.
Maybe to be controversial, let's say which coalition would work? A coalition between the ANC and the EFF, or a coalition between the DA and the EFF?
Well, let me take it in the reverse. EFF has said they will not help keep the ANC in power in communities where the people have voted the ANC out of power. And if I go purely by public statements, because all of those parties have had various statements, maybe they hold water in the end or maybe not, but it would possibly be an opposition one between the EFF and the DA. But that would only be possible should there be convergence. We've seen it in many African states, in Nigeria, in Malawi, for example, where some opposition parties become so fed up with corruption in government, with mismanagement, that I say, let's, as the first phase, forget our big ideological differences and cooperate to get clean governments in the first place. And then afterwards we can reconsider and perhaps go our ideological policy routes again. So perhaps that is a kind of scenario which might feature. We'll listen very carefully to the political parties in the days that come, in the 2 weeks, because in terms of the legislation, they have 2 weeks to get their municipal governments together.
In closing, Julius Malema said earlier in the week, after he visited Thabo Mbeki, he said, in politics there are no permanent friends and no permanent enemies.
That is true.
And I think with that sort of context, maybe that's where we're heading.
He needed that statement, because he and Thabo Mbeki, EFF and Thabo Mbeki, they have a mutual enemy now. And so he had to reconcile with his former enemy there. There may be another enemy tomorrow.
Prof, Doctor, thank you very much for joining us. It's been such an insightful evening. I learned so much about stats. I can actually go out there and do my own modeling, I think, after all the time I've spent with you tonight. But we're going to have you tomorrow throughout the day, starting with Morning Live at 5 a.m.,
5 a.m., yeah.
Those results coming to you live and direct from the IEC's Results Operations Centre in Tshwane.
Yeah, it's been a very long day. We'll be back at 5 a.m. with Peter Ndora and Leanne Mannis bringing you the results. And by then, we'll have a fair idea of what the picture looks like.
It's certainly been a long day, a long night, and now we take a break, a real break. But we are back tomorrow evening. You're back at 9 a.m.
I'm back at 9 a.m. I've got to go and freshen up, as it were.
He's going to freshen up. I'm going to get some rest. But the show does continue on SABC News Channel 404. Good night.
See you then.
Good morning, rather.
Good morning.
Now this is Trends, of course, your one-stop serving of all that's juicy and trending in the world of entertainment and showbiz. My name, of course, is Refiel Wemwilo.
I'm Dr. Sello Mutaung, and this is Our Talk.
A very good morning and welcome to Media Monitor. I'm your host, Alicia Jolly.
My name is Dumile Matez.
William Mulebati.
My name is Mpo Sedu. What time is it? It's question time.
For your daily dose of current affairs, tune in to the SABC News Channel.
4th Avenue comes alive on Wednesday evenings as the Shipping Container Mall hosts a night market.
So it's really about the best. You've got a plethora of restaurants in Melville already. We don't need any more. They do authentic African food. The Sicilian Pilgrim guys, authentic Sicilian pizzas. We don't want to replicate or duplicate anything that's happening in Melville. We want to give something new to Melville that isn't already here.
We're trying to work on the design. They change every week, but that's just the nature of design and clothes. And we've got people over there that they sell any kind of thing. They're a bit more sporadic than, let's say, the food stalls. But the food stalls, we've got everything here from Mexican to Serbian food to Indian food to Thai food to sushi to African food, pizzas, dim sum. The list goes on. And they are always here, every single week.
27 Boxes is an art hub mall that is situated in the heart of Melville and gives the community a place to hang out and grab a bite to push start the fun part of the week.
So we're doing Mexican, right? So what we do is we do tacos, we do nachos, we do enchiladas, we do chili poppers as well. And we do 3 types of tacos. We do a beef fillet, we do a chicarita, and we do a chili con carne, which is your Mexican mince and beans, and that's our spicy one. And that one, we call it the carnage because that's our hot one. And that's the one that people love, and it's my favorite as well.
Curry in a Box season, we sell authentic Indian food. We are the best in Joburg. We sell the best curries, so please, you guys have to try some. And yeah, we just, it's a blend of spices, a dash of love.
We do Thai food, it's like a spring roll, samosa. That side is going to be tempura prawn, chicken satay, mani bag. Over there we have red curries, with sawa, with rice or with noodle.
We're serving fusion sushi. Fusion sushi. It's not like a normal sushi, and we basically use a different style of sauce, and we deep fry the whole sushi, so it gives sushi different flavors. So it's quite nice. You can find over many different flavors. top seller is the dish called 4x4, which is 4 pieces of rainbow reloaded. It's a rainbow roll, salmon inside and salmon on top with our special sweet sauce and sesame oil 7 spicy spring onion. The other 4 pieces is salmon California around the bottom with 4 fried prawns on top with spicy mayo and sweet sauce. Very tasty and everyone love it.
In this very short time that we've been operating, we've got a great response. People ask this question, where are you? Do you do catering? Where do you have a restaurant? So we're very busy now working on a pop-up restaurant that we hope to open at the end of March that we would love to invite you to.
You guys must come and try some delicious African food.
Pilgrim's Pizza is Joburg's original and only authentic Neapolitan pop-up pizzeria. Which means we're selling Neapolitan pizza, hailing from the region of Naples, Italy. It's a little bit different to your normal pizza, which is a Roman pizza. Roman pizza is flat and doesn't have the crust that Neapolitan pizza has. Pizza I gave you, you could see that it has that nice, beautiful crust on it. I see you making those eyes of love with those black dots on it. Those black dots are called the leopard effect. That happens from a slow fermentation. I can't tell you how long, it's a secret, but the dough stays quite a while in the fridge. So when it comes out and hits a high heat of 450 degrees plus, it causes those dots because all the gases are released from the dough from the yeast in the fermentation process. Well, I like to keep it classic. The margherita is my favorite. It's the original pizza that hails from Naples. But I like the hay pesto also. That is my twist that I'm trying to put on pizzas here. I like to use ingredients that speak for themselves, and I don't like to cut to them with fluff and static. I just like them to be what they are for who, what, and what they are.
Is it the first time being here?
First time.
And so far, how are you feeling?
Really good.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
What are you having?
This is a bubble tea. It's, green tea with pomegranate bubbles. It tastes delicious.
Some organic thing.
Some organic, but it's good.
And now, what are you
Now we're
guys
having
buying?
curry.
Lamb curry.
Chicken biryani. Lamb curry.
If you're interested in a chilled evening on a Wednesday, then the night market at 27 Boxes is the place to be.
I think the vibe is very different like other markets, and the location as well. You see there's many restaurants on there, and there's a residential area, so there's a lot of people who are popping the markets, you know. So there's a big potential.
So far it's okay. The place is nice market.
Well, we're coming to you live from the IEC, the Rock here in Pretoria. You can hear behind us that the IEC is holding a briefing right now, and it sounds like the weather is going to be pretty rough tomorrow, Blake. Yeah, so I guess get in there early. If you're in Durban, especially rain, wind in the Eastern Cape, Western Cape issues as well. Yeah. So we believe that we are crossing to Johannesburg. We'll come back to the centre and we'll bring you all the action tonight, more analysis, and we'll be speaking about security issues, a whole range of issues ahead of tomorrow's special local government election. Indeed, special voting has indeed ended. Now the focus is on the main day, the polling day tomorrow. It opens between 7 a.m. and until 7 p.m. Now remember, the SABC's election team has you covered with all the latest happenings from around the country, and we'll bring you all of that election news at the top of the hour. So stay tuned for that and much more. But first, let's cross to our studios in Auckland Park for a full news bulletin.
This morning.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Kendall Makamate, and here are the headlines. On the eve of the local elections, the IEC warns of zero tolerance of non-compliance and takes action against errant officials. Police and soldiers keep a close eye on trouble-torn Buani in Limpopo. And as the petroleum strike takes its toll, fears mount of public transport being affected. Good evening, here's your news on Prime. Top story for tonight. The Independent Electoral Commission has dismissed and issued a warning to several of its officials that have failed to follow procedures during the special voting period. The Commission maintains it is on track to complete special voting.
The IEC cracking the whip on its disobedient officials. Several have either been fired or issued with warnings following incidents on day one of special voting. The Commission does not want its work compromised.
In 2 cases where behavior of the presiding officers and deputy presiding officers were believed to be more serious breaches, including allowing voters who had not been granted special votes to vote and failing to secure the ballot boxes, they have been summarily dismissed.
The IEC has also condemned cases of reported violence.
2 tents were burned in an overnight apparent arson attack by disgruntled residents in Freedom Park in Ekurhuleni, Gauteng. These tents have been replaced today and extra security has been arranged.
The Commission says the 2-day special voting has served as a lesson for Wednesday's poll. Despite a record number of special vote applications, the IEC says turnout on day one varied considerably, but the Commission remains satisfied. Sipho Sturman, SABC News in Pretoria.
Meanwhile, President Jacob Zuma has expressed government satisfaction with the state of readiness and the quality of the IEC's equipment going into tomorrow's local government elections. He was given first-hand information about the election nerve centre.
The IEC Centre, a hive of activity on the eve of the fiercely contested municipal elections. The country's #1 on hand to satisfy himself with preparations by the Electoral Commission.
It looks like everything will go fine because the process is so transparent that everyone has an opportunity to look at. I'm very happy because we are one of the countries in the African continent, and I think the manner in which we conduct our elections is indeed satisfying.
The president also optimistic that spoiled votes will be minimized.
Can now say without any fear of contradiction that we are ready. I'm sure the country is ready tomorrow to do their best. All what is left is for the voters.
The president called on every registered South African to cast their votes. It is all systems go for tomorrow's local government elections. The day has been declared a national public holiday.
It has been published in the government gazette, and he has urged all employers to make sure that they allow workers to go and exercise their democratic right to vote.
The IEC has declared tomorrow's polls the most contested municipal elections since 1994. Montlengane Dipoko, SABC News, Pretoria.
And former President Thabo Mbeki has finally broken his silence over his absence on the ANC's campaign trail. Mbeki says he's been preoccupied with obligations on the continent. The former ANC president was expected to meet the party's 3 Metro mayoral candidates today. However, only Joburg candidate Parks Dau showed up.
It has been a busy day for ANC Joburg mayoral candidate Parks Dau. A final push, seniors standing alongside ANC Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, who cast his special vote in Hyde Park. However, earlier in the day, Dau didn't enjoy the same public declaration, nor did the ANC ward candidate in Killarney who canvassed for the former president's vote.
And I told her that's a secret. That's a secret ballot. But I'd wish her luck. I'd wish her success.
But if party regalia ever spoke volumes, this was it. Thabo Mbeki, who has made it clear that he remains a member of the ANC in good standing, has been accused of failing to campaign for the party.
I'm sure the ANC leadership, here is the regional chair, for instance, I'm quite sure that they are perfectly capable of handling this. Plus, I have to be wandering around the continent quite a bit. Even now, last week I was in Tanzania, I wasn't here.
The past few weeks saw the ANC in the Joburg region call on stalwarts to bold state's campaign. However, the regional chairperson has brushed off concerns over Mbeki's absence.
I don't think that we can be disappointed. He has himself said that he remains a member of the African National Congress.
Thao also dismissed interpretations that this meeting was to counter the EFF's visit from the previous day. Aldrin St-Pierre, SABC News, Johannesburg.
And the DA has again defended a decision to use Madiba's legacy in its election campaign. Its leader, Mmusi Maimane, says Mandela's legacy belongs to the world.
The Nelson Mandela Bay Metro. It's become a political hot potato ahead of this poll. Support for the ANC and the DA, according to polls, is too close to call. But the DA remains unapologetic for invoking the legacy of Madiba in its campaign.
And I'm never ashamed to say this. I will say it proudly and boldly. We will always stand for the values of Nelson Mandela, and this election is about doing it for Utata, for the future of this country, so that we can all know what a non-racial South Africa is and an inclusive South Africa looks like.
DA Tshwane mayoral candidate Solim Simang told potential voters that good governance will play a major role in attracting foreign investments. The party is confident of securing the Tshwane Metro.
It's all now up to the voters to really come out in their numbers tomorrow, to come and decide on what their future will be. As I said before, we have an option and a choice to whether continue with another 5 years of some of the same, or to put in a government that will really put people first and that will put service delivery at the forefront of everything that we do to create jobs and stop corruption.
Party representatives visited voting stations monitoring the second day of special votes. Ivo Epoti, SABC News, Port Elizabeth.
Staying with election news, the EFF has expressed confidence in a free and fair poll. Its leader, Julius Malema, made the comments during a visit to the National IEC Centre in Pretoria today.
The EFF on the eve of its first municipal poll, its leader upbeat, surrounded by the media.
The people that sit over here, they also have the same access. As soon as the result is in, they also get to pick it up over here. So you can actually do a running tally. Political parties. Yes.
IEC Chair Vumi Mashinini accompanied Malema on his tour. The party had previously expressed reservations about Mashinini's appointment. It said his close relationship with President Jacob Zuma might compromise the IEC's integrity.
There shouldn't be a role player in these elections. They must be neutral and they must continue to do what they are known for. We're particularly worried about the appointment of the new chairperson of the IEC because of his proximity to President Zuma.
Malema also appealed for political tolerance and was hopeful that his party will do well.
Despite the fact that in only 3 years of our existence, the EFF has demonstrated massive internal democracy. None of the branch meetings degenerated into fights that led to any drop of blood. Moreover, all the branches that set to nominate councillors candidates were EFF branches in good standing with actual paid-up membership.
The party ended its tour by expressing confidence in the IEC's ability to pull off a free and fair election.
And the IEC in Limpopo says half of the registered special voters have voted in the troubled area of Vuwani. Voting got off to a slow start in the morning and some voting stations remained locked. Police and soldiers have been deployed to monitor elections in Vuwani and surrounding areas.
Police continue to keep a close eye on Vuwani, one of the areas considered a hot spot. Soldiers are also there to assist them with logistics. 34 people were allowed to cast special votes, but it was a slow start, as IEC officials had to wait for stations to be opened. They are expecting more voters tomorrow.
Earlier on, we had
almost half of the 34 that have already voted. And looking at that, then that gives us to say until we close at 5 o'clock, we are very confident everybody who has turned up will have voted. And then with tomorrow, we've got everything in plan. We have got SANDF putting the tents in all of those affected voting stations. Some of the voting stations we've got access to them, but as a backup method, we are putting tent in all 56 of them. So come tomorrow morning, the tents will be up in all the stations, and the security is so tight, the patrolling is so high that we anticipate voting at its best tomorrow.
4 people who were arrested yesterday remain in custody.
Election news, you can visit our website, elections.sabc.co.za, and you can also follow us on Twitter at SABC News Online. Now it is that South Africa's local elections can be a lesson for Africa. Around the continent, experts say the organization of the different political parties' campaigns has allowed other countries to see that inclusivity and mass participation of citizens is vital for good governance to be achieved.
The African Union, that has been monitoring the local election campaigns in South Africa, commends the participation of citizens. It says South Africa has portrayed maturity in democracy.
That's an important election, and you can already see the way the entire population is excited about the election, is mobilized, and the extent to which also political parties in that country take that election seriously.
In Ethiopia, the main means of following the elections has been SABC channels, basically television at home and online during work time. Many might not have known the candidates personally, but enjoyed the momentum that campaigns maintained from the onset. Some say it felt like they were watching presidential campaigns. The high participation of women in the South African candidacy positions and electorate is now a challenge to other African countries. Experts in governance say high women involvement has a direct impact to success in all levels in the society.
So the fact that structurally we prevent women from maximizing their full potential is like a football coach who goes to a match with the second 11. You don't play football. You don't get into competitive sports with the second 11. So in Africa, we're ignoring our first 11, who are the women, and going to with their second 11. So what is it we need to do to create opportunities for women in Africa across all levels?
Beyond the elections, however, comes the challenge of the new officials to be accountable to citizens.
National governments themselves must take the front row, and the only way to take the front row is to address democratic deficit, is to address the problems of inclusivity, to address the problem of access to subsidized socioeconomic opportunities, to address the problems of lack of development, or development that is skewed to the benefit of a few, to the neglect of majority.
In many African countries, voter apathy, especially amongst the youth, remains a big challenge. Coletta Njohi for SABC News in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Good afternoon, you're with the news at 1.
Welcome to Lunchtime News Amplified.
Selection of political parties by means of a lucky draw has been a common practice for the past 22 years.
We take an in-depth look at top stories of the day and live crossings to our journalists on the scene.
First time in our nation's history that a woman will be a major party's nominee.
Business news, sports update, and weather report.
Hello and welcome to News Live. I'm Natasha Thorpe. Good to have you with us.
For all things news, tune in to Midday Report weekdays at 12 noon only on the SABC News channel.
He appealed for the disruptions to come to an end so the future of the children is not compromised.
The union said the latest offer by Eskom will condemn its members to poverty.
Samples from the 2012 London Olympic Games and 2014 Sochi Winter Games will also be retested.
Stay tuned to News Today at 3 p.m. from Monday to Friday on SABC News.
Since the first democratic vote in 1994, we were there
to usher in democracy and bring about a new South Africa.
Over the years, blow-by-blow coverage of the election, and now we'll be bringing you
the numbers as they come in on your TV, computer, and even on your phone. Well, think about it as your personal guide to the elections.
Get to know why your municipality is hotly contested.
Wherever you are, stay updated.
The SABC, the nerve center of South Africa's elections news.
Good evening. There's still no end in sight to the fuel strike which has gripped the country since last week. There's growing panic amongst motorists, and the strike is beginning to affect public transport as well.
Day 6 of the crippling fuel strike. Petrol pumps around the country are increasingly running dry. In Pretoria, some petrol stations are running low, while others are completely without fuel. Motorists have been scrambling to fill up their tanks. Others even filling up extra containers.
Oh, my dear, it's been difficult. We don't even know where to go. We have to drive from Hammanskraal to come here and get a petrol. Please, let us, those people, give those workers, those drivers, those trucks, their money that they're asking so that they can come back to work. We are struggling. It's very difficult for us.
Most of the areas that I've been operating in, there is petrol. But there are areas where it's dry, so you've got to provision for that in the mornings before you go to work.
Public transport is also beginning to feel the pinch. Johannesburg's municipal bus company, Metrobus, panicked yesterday when its fuel stocks dipped due to a lack of supply. It warned the public of an imminent disruption to bus services, but now says the situation is under control for now.
We had some fuel delivered last night to the depots, so we have sufficient fuel so that we can continue operations for the rest of this week. And we're busy making contingency plans for next week. But for this week, we'll be fine, and passengers don't have to worry about not getting their buses.
The strike is undoubtedly affecting the economy. But still, there are no negotiations planned between the employers and the union SEPAU to end the strike. Mbongini Muchwa, SABC News, Johannesburg.
An SABC contributing editor, Vuyo Mvoko's case against the public broadcaster has been postponed to Thursday. Both parties appeared briefly in the Johannesburg High Court today. The postponement is due to the high number of cases on the court roll. Now, Mvoko approached the court in order to have his freelance contract honoured. He has not featured on any of the SABC's news platforms since publishing an opinion piece detailing his views on the state of affairs at the SABC. 7 other journalists who had been dismissed were reinstated a week ago after winning a case against the public broadcaster at the Labour Court. Now let's take a look at how the markets performed today.
look at artists, they've got one of the abilities to either form new conversations, they can paint a picture of a country, they can paint a picture of a mindset of a country.
The Cape Town-based ballet dancer recently won at the 2016 and 2017 Rolex Mentor and Prodigy Arts Initiative.
South African hip-hop right now is sitting at a level where it's Ngutu, Yippee and Roll Up. When you put them all in one room, you actually have like the ultimate super South African fan.
And you're watching Trends, do not go anywhere, stay right there.
Catch Trends for that 1 hour weekly dose of art and entertainment news every Saturday from 12 to 1.
We've brought you the elections manifestos.
We have taken you on the campaign trails, the rallies and the door-to-door campaigns, and we caught the tension on tape.
And even the drama when internal battles spilled into the public eye. Our cameras kept on rolling.
And now, we bring you the race for seats. A record number of 63,654 candidates want your vote.
As the numbers trickle in, we'll give you live updates from across the country and from the hotspots. While the police keep a watchful eye, so will Africa.
Wherever you are, stay updated.
Wherever you are, stay updated.
Wherever you are, stay updated.
The SABC, the nerve center of South Africa's elections news.
Good evening, welcome back. The South African rowing team wants to improve on the gold medal they won in London in 2012. They've entered 5 boats for the Olympic Games, which get underway in Rio de Janeiro on Friday. These include the lightweight double sculls featuring James Thompson and John Smith, who won gold 4 years ago as part of the lightweight fours crew.
The rowing venue in Rio is one of the most picturesque in Olympic history. However, it also presents the most challenges, as it's not a man-made facility but a natural lagoon. It is not entirely new to the South African contingent, as they had a training camp here in November last year.
One of our big goals is that all 5 crews get into the A finals, there you've got a 50% chance of getting a medal. So we're really executing that hard for the heats, and semi-finals are really important. And then once we're in the finals, we can really look forward to that.
Thompson and Smith were part of the South African men's fours that rocked the rowing fraternity by winning gold in London. They're currently ranked 2nd in the world.
My expectations are a little bit higher this time, but I'm not going to put pressure on myself. I'm just going to go out there and we're going to think about putting down the best performance.
The South African team also features 2 female combinations. Leanne Percy and Kate Christovitz won a number of World Cup races in the heavyweight pairs this year. Kirsten McCann and Ursula Grobler will compete in the lightweight double sculls.
Kirsten's experience, like she said, she competed in the Beijing Olympics, so she helped me a lot. This is my first Olympics, but with her experience, as she said, passed on to me, it's just been incredible.
The Olympic rowing regatta starts on Saturday, when the heavyweight pairs team of Lawrence Britton and Sean Keeling will be in action. Liesel Zankel, SABC News.
Now all roads lead to Rio, as Banyana will want to prove that they have what it takes to compete at the highest level internationally. The South African senior women's football team starts its Rio Olympic Games campaign against the highly ranked Sweden tomorrow evening. This is a repeat of their opening match at the London Olympics 4 years ago.
Banyana will be looking for revenge against the number 6th ranked side in the world, Sweden. In 2012, South Africa were outplayed by their opponents. After a shaky start, Banyana were already 3 goals down after 20 minutes and never recovered. They went on to lose the match 4-1.
It is now up to them. They need to show that they're ready for it, that they leave everything behind them, all the little things, that they leave that into the dressing room, and that they make the best games that they could ever have. The preparations have been long, preparations have been very good, but now we need to see if we're ready for it and if we are experienced enough to stand the pressure.
The players realize they need to start the tournament on a high if they are to stand a chance of advancing to the second round.
We know that it's the biggest moment that we've been working so hard for the past couple of months, and the time is here now. We know that we're playing probably the toughest opponents in our group, and we have to make an impact in our first game for us to, you know, perhaps get as far as we possibly want to get. And it's going to be a tough match for us, and we just have to, whatever we have worked through the past 8 months, put it in the game and see what we can make of it and hopefully get a good result.
Banyana's second match will be against hosts Brazil on Saturday before facing another tough opponent, China, next Tuesday in their final group match. Sfeso Ramara, SABC News.
And this is where we say goodbye to our SABC 3 viewers. But if you're watching us on DSTV channel 404, we'll be crossing live to the IEC Nerve Centre in Pretoria at 7 p.m.
A very good Tuesday evening to you, and it's time to update you with your weather details for the next few days. We start with tonight's rainfall forecast. A cold front approaching the Western Cape, and ahead of it, widespread showers for the Cape Town area in and around the metropole, with scattered rainfall just outside of that and partly cloudy conditions further towards the east of the Western Cape. Ahead of the cold front, we're seeing cool and cold temperatures through the central parts of the country under clear skies, as well as for the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal coastlines. But as that forecast loops towards tomorrow, we're seeing clear conditions in the northeast of South Africa and the northern parts of the country. But behind that cold front, a significant drop in temperatures for the southern regions, and that could be followed with snowfall along the high ground of the Western Cape, Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal areas, up to gale force strength winds for the southeastern coast around East London and Port Elizabeth. So please be on the lookout for that, along with widespread showers for the southeastern parts of the Western Cape. In towards your temperatures now, ahead of the cold front, Cape Town drops to 11 degrees this evening. -1 is the low expected in Bloemfontein, while it warms up to 14 tomorrow for that city. Johannesburg up to 21 tomorrow afternoon, Durban up to 24, and Cape Town up to 15. Well, that's it from me. Have a great evening.
Now this is Trends, of course, your one-stop serving of all that's juicy and trending in the world of entertainment and showbiz. My name, of course, is Refill Wemwilo.
I'm Dr. Sello Mutaung, and this is Our Talk.
A very good morning and welcome to Media Monitor. I'm your host,